Hey everyone, John here from 4 Brewers, and I am back with some beers. 6 beers to be exact. As you may or may not know, I have been a big fan of the brewery for a long time. I have a lot of beer from the brewery. You can see a couple of cases behind me. There's actually 9 cases, I'm sorry. 9 cases of brewery beer behind me. I have a closet full of brewery beer. I am that meme. So yeah, I got a lot of brewery beer, and I think I'm gonna section off a playlist just for brewery beer because I don't want to open it and dump it. I actually want to open it and try it and document it being tried. And if it's good, I'll hang on to my other bottles. If it's bad, other bottles are going in the trash. So it's a Labor Day weekend. I thought this would be fun. I originally had 11 beers, I think, that I was going to open, but I whittled it down to these because these are basically like the pastry stouts of the bunch. Some were like a barrel-aged barley wine. That's more of a proper beer. These are the fun beers. So we're just going to start, from right to left, I guess. So I'm going to move these out of the way, reposition the camera, and we'll be back in a minute. By the way, just so you know what we got, we've got chocolate salty balls, and I don't know the year on this. I'll get to the details when we drink the beers. Last Slice, Mocha Wednesday, PB and Jelly Thursday, on Tuesday We Brunch, and white chocolate with cherries. So let's do this. Okay, so first up is chocolate salty balls. This is an imperial stout aged in bourbon with vanilla beans, cacao nibs, and salt. This is from 2015. And this is 16.4% alcohol by volume. Obviously, I'm not drinking these entire bottles. Like, that would be insane and crazy. But yeah, let's open it up, check it out. All right, so obviously this is gonna be jet black. Get that in the camera there. Using my proper brewery glassware that I've had forever. It's not the original OG brewery glass, but it's pretty old. Yeah, it's got some alcohol in there, thin caramel head that's dissolving pretty quickly, and yeah, it's pretty much black with maybe a tinge of like a red outline if you hold it up to the light. See what it smells like. Oh, that still smells pretty damn good. Obviously, you get a booziness in there, and the cocoa is the first thing that kind of comes forward. It's like a dusty cocoa kind of thing. I say that quite a bit, but it's almost like if you open like a can of like Hershey's like powdered cocoa. That's what it smells like. I get that impression. For some reason, that smells different than like syrup, like chocolate syrup. So that dusty cocoa kind of thing. That's initially what I get on the nose. Yeah, this has aged fantastically. The bourbon comes through very well. It smells really, really good. This beer has a lot going for it in the aromatics department. Like I said, big time cacao, like dusty cocoa notes, bourbon, and alcohol basically. And then all the other things that come with like a bourbon barrel-aged stout, you've got that maltiness going on. The wood character is a little low, I would say. It's more of the bourbon than it is the wood. But yeah, it's mostly bourbon and chocolate on the nose. So let's see what it tastes like. This has held up very well for being a 3-year-old beer with adjuncts like chocolate and salt and all that. It's really good. The heat on the flavor is not anywhere near the aroma. This goes down very smooth. And you do get the salt in there. That's awesome. Wow. So the first sip is that typical big bourbon barrel-aged flavor. Lots of bourbon character, chocolate, a little bit of vanilla in there, not so much as like the bourbon and chocolate. But then as I was talking, I could kind of feel this happening. You feel the salt in the middle of your tongue. Like you taste a very nice salinity that kind of interacts with the dryness or the drying effect of the alcohol in the beer. It's really nice. It's like once the beer dries up on your palate, you're left with this residual salt thing. It's very, very interesting. Yep, this is a winner. This is a fucking winner. This is really, really good. So if you have a bottle of this, again, 2015 chocolate salty balls, I highly recommend you open it now. I think this beer has peaked. If you hold on to it any longer, you're just gonna be wasting your money like I have done with my Bruery beer. So this was good. Let's move on to the next beer. Okay, so next up we have Last Slice. This is 13.5% ale aged in bourbon barrels with lime, vanilla, lactose, and graham crackers. I guess it's supposed to be like key lime pie, so that sounds pretty awesome. This is a newer bottle, actually. This is a 2018 bottle. Check me out, drinking a beer from 2018 from the Bruery. This sounds good on paper, looks tasty. I love the label on this. It's got a piece of pie on it. You can't go wrong with that. So let's open this up and check it out. Okay, so you can probably hear this. It's got a really big head on it that dissolves very quickly. It almost dissolves like soda, which is kind of disappointing, but that's the beer. It's kind of a orangey brown kind of color. So, excuse me, it's not, it's not a stout. It's probably like a barley wine style beer or like a blonde ale or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's really disappointing that this head has burned off so quickly. Like, it just looks so unappealing when it's just liquid in a glass. Like, it's kind of a bummer. So let's see what it smells like. Oh, wow. So right up front is just massive, massive lime, sugary lime nose. Yeah, oh man, that's overwhelmingly lime. That's kind of insane. The maltiness of the beer does come through, which is nice. It kind of helps combat that perceived tartness you get from the lime. Like, you can't really smell tart, but if you smell a lime, you can kind of start tasting tartness on your palate because you're thinking of what a lime tastes like when you smell it. But that maltiness comes through also, kind of like a pie crust, I guess, and combats that a little bit. Not getting a whole lot of vanilla on the nose. It's mostly just that lime and slight maltiness. So I have a feeling this is going to be kind of a wreck of a beer. I don't know. Like I said, it sounds good on paper as far as like pastry beers go, but I don't know. That head dissipating that quickly kind of has me scared. So let's see what it tastes like. Yeah, it's what I expected. It's got a nice level of carbonation. It finishes pretty dry. But I mean, it's tongue coating. It tastes like lime. It tastes like a kind of a syrupy blonde ale with lime, basically. Like, I'm not really getting a whole lot of the vanilla character. The graham cracker, I don't even know where they put. I guess they put graham crackers in the mash. I'm not sure if that would even come through in the final product, or maybe they put graham crackers in the boil. That would be a mess, though. Yeah, I'm not getting a whole lot of that crust kind of thing. It's mostly like a blonde ale with lime. Yeah, blonde ale with lime is wrong. It's like a barley wine light with lime. This is not good at all. This is somewhat horrible. It's really syrupy, and it's like syrupy, malty beer with lime, and that head going away that quickly is just disappointing. It's almost flat tasting. I don't know. This is not good, so let's move on to the next beer. All right, so up next is Mocha Wednesday. This has been a longtime favorite of mine. This is a Imperial Stout with coffee and cacao nibs. The coffee is from Portola Coffee, and the cacao nibs are from Cho Chocolatiers, or Cho, I don't know, TCHO. They make chocolate. This is 19.4%, and this is the 2016 edition. So again, we're keeping it kind of fresh here. I know I have older bottles of this kicking around in the closet. So yeah, this is a big beer. I'm using this Bruery Reserve Society bottle opener. It's kind of similar to a Yopener, except it's got this barbed edge right here. You can kind of see that's meant for cutting the wax, and it kind of looks like a shark. I have a Yopener here too, and I prefer the Yopener. I mean, this softer edge right here of this bolt really works well for taking off caps. This tends to kind of, I'm afraid I'm gonna like break the glass of the lip around, that the cap sits on. But yeah, they gave this to us for Reserve Society 2018. It's kind of cool to have both. So I'm gonna try this out with this wax, because this is some thick wax. You can kind of see, like, it's pretty thick. They did not spare any wax on this one. So Let's see how well this works. Ah, it's cutting through the wax very well. That's nice. All right. But again, well, at least we're getting the cap off. This is turning into a mess, of course. I'm so afraid. All right, well, that was somewhat painless. Yeah, stop waxing your bottles, breweries. The brewery even stopped doing it. They're using like a foil thing, so. All right, let's give this puppy a pour. In case you're wondering, I am dumping these beers into a dump bucket. This is my dump bucket right here. I'm rinsing the glass between beers and taking a sip of water between beers to kind of reset my palate. So this comes in not as dark as the chocolate salty balls. This is definitely dark, but it's a little more transparent and has more red highlights to it if you hold it up in the light. It's a very pretty beer. Head, you know, very quickly dissipates. I'm sure that's a product of having 20% alcohol in it, and it just can't hold up to that. But it dissipates differently than the last beer. The last beer, it was like fizzy soda, the way it dissipated. And this, it looks normal for a beer this big. So let's see what it smells like. Oddly, I'm getting kind of a pepperiness on it, like a chili pepper kind of thing. That is something I did not expect. That's weird. Yeah, I think it's the alcohol that's given me that kind of perceived peppery heat, as weird as that sounds. Chocolate, you get the chocolate. Coffee, not so much. Oh, you know what? It's probably the coffee. It's probably, yep. Now, of course, it's the coffee that I'm getting that pepperiness from. It's like it's not like a green pepper. It's kind of like a red pepper that's kind of on the green side, if you know what I mean. You get like heat on the aroma, like you're smelling a chili pepper, but you get also kind of a little bit of a fleshiness from that chili pepper too. But it's not as bad as like a green chili pepper in a beer. So that's the coffee coming through, which honestly, I'd rather smell coffee than smell that pepperiness from the coffee. But it's something that happens in beers, and it's not bad, but it's not great. So let's see what it tastes like. Man, that is a big beer. Holy crap. Yeah, this is best fresh. Again, this is a 2016, so it's 2 years old. It's got coffee and cacao in it. Beers that have coffee and cacao, you want to drink fresh. You don't want to age these beers. And it's not like I went out of my way to age this beer. It's just that I have so much, I didn't even know I had it. This is stuff that I went through boxes and said, oh, I have this beer too. Cool. Oh, look at this beer. So, you know, it's a 20% alcohol by volume beer. You definitely get that heat on the flavor. It's tongue coating. It finishes nice and dry. The chocolate, it does come through, but it's definitely tapering off, and the coffee has turned into that green, I don't know, that green coffee, red chili kind of thing, where it's spicy and it's just not pleasant. It doesn't taste like you're drinking a coffee beer. It tastes like you're drinking a coffee beer with older coffee in it, or something's wrong with the coffee. So typically, like I said, this beer is fantastic when it's fresh. I love Mocha Wednesday, but this, yeah, it's not fresh. It's not good. So let's move on to the next beer. Okay, so up next is PB and Jelly Thursday. This is an imperial stout, aged in bourbon barrels, of course, with peanut flour, boysenberries, and salt. And the reason they use peanut flour is because you don't get any of the oil from the peanuts. You just get the flavor of peanuts, which is awesome. That's what all the breweries use for their peanut butter stouts and whatnot. So this is 19.2 alcohol. This is 19.2% alcohol by volume. And this is the 2018 edition. So again, this is a freshie. Apparently I picked a box with a bunch of fresh brewery beers in it, or fresher brewery beers. But it still has wax on it. So I guess they're still waxing bottles even in 2018. Just stop waxing bottles. So let's carve through this. Jesus Christ. I tell you what, this does cut very well, but yeah, This wins for wax bottles, but I'm scared to use it to open the cap, but you kind of have to. But this works great for cutting through wax. I wouldn't need it if you didn't wax your bottles. So don't do that. So again, this has the same head retention issue that last slice had, where it just burns off really quickly, kind of like you're opening a can of Coke and pouring it into a glass. It doesn't look that appetizing. It's got more of a purple kind of edge to it, which is interesting. You can't really pick it up on camera, but it's black. But like I said, if you hold it up to the light, it's like a purplish red kind of glow on it. Even, yeah, and it's very transparent too for being so dark. That's a very pretty beer for what it is. So let's see what it smells like. Okay, well, this is made with, I think I said this before, peanut flour, boysenberries, and salt. The boysenberries do come through very nicely, actually. Working with the malts in this, I think this smells very pleasant. It does smell like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's more on the jelly side. Have I done this beer as a review? I think I may have. I don't know. Maybe I did. Well, we're drinking it again. Because all of this stuff sounds familiar to me. Like you get more of a jelly presence than a peanut butter presence on the nose. It smells like a jelly sandwich more than a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But it still smells good. Like it's a nice fruity smelling stout, and you don't get a whole lot of heat on it, even though it's 19.2% alcohol by volume. Yeah, and it smells pretty good. So let's see what it tastes like. Oh, wow. Oh, God. Oh. Okay, all right. So you initially get the fruit on the flavor. Like that's the dominant part of this beer is the boysenberry fruit. The next thing I get is kind of, it's not acidic. It's like an astringency from the malts, I think, the dark malts that's playing with the berry flavor, and that doesn't work well at all. And then the alcohol comes in, and that just ruins everything. It's very, very thin. It's lacking body, and this is a fresh bottle too. This is messed up. And I'm not getting a whole lot of peanut flavor on this at all. Yeah. I think it's overcarbonated. Oh, it's overcarbonated and thin. And there's no peanut flavor. Yeah, this isn't good either. That's sad because this sounds so good on paper. But I don't understand why it has to be 19% alcohol. Like, can't you do this, with a beer that's 12% or like 10% alcohol? And I understand you have tons and tons of barrels at the brewery that are, aging Black Tuesday-ish beers. But Jesus Christ, like this is too much. And then the beer is not good on top of that. And I'm not trying to diss the brewery. Like I love the brewery and I'm a huge brewery fanboy. But this makes me want to stay away from these pastry stout kind of beers because they're not really pulling it off that well. Maybe it's good to get as a taster if you're at the actual tasting room, but buying an entire bottle of this, no way, especially since it's 20% alcohol. So moving on to the next beer. Okay, so next up is on Tuesdays We Brunch. This is again an Imperial Stout, 17.2%, so a little smaller on the alcohol volume. Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels with coffee, almonds, cinnamon, maple syrup, and natural flavors. That's weird. This is the 2018 edition. Again, I opened a box that had some fresh and semi-fresh beers in it. So let's open this up and check it out. Again, it's waxed very, very heavily. Give me a break. Oh, God. I mean, it's kind of satisfying digging through the wax with this thing, but it's also very frustrating, and it gives me anxiety. And some wax got into the beer. See, that's what... Just stop waxing your bottles. God damn it. Okay, so this is a very nice looking beer. The head, it's got a rocky head on there. It's not dissolving quickly like the last couple beers, but it's definitely dissolving rapidly. But it's very nice looking, I gotta say. I like the way this looks. I wish the bubbles were more tight knit and fine, but this looks pretty good. Let's see what it smells like. Wow. Okay, so what is in this beer again? Coffee, almonds, cinnamon, and maple syrup. Okay. Okay, for me, the biggest thing I'm getting is the cinnamon. Like, huge, huge cinnamon nose. Honestly, that's all I'm getting. This smells like hot tamales or like those red hot candies. Like, oh, and there's that piece of wax. Hi, goodbye. But yeah, this is all cinnamon on the nose. That's all I really get. Like, that's it. It's just it smells like cinnamon. So let's see what it tastes like. Okay, the flavor is definitely different from the nose. You don't really taste the cinnamon as much as you can smell it, but that maple syrup comes through quite a bit. It's got a nice tongue coating mouthfeel to it. Okay, the cinnamon's on the back end. Like, initially up front, you get that maple syrup kick with a lot of maltiness. It's really tongue coating, like I said, and then on the back end is the cinnamon. And you can taste the cinnamon, but it's also kind of a bit of a burn on your throat too. It's almost like, no, I don't want to say it's like a chili pepper, but it's getting into that territory. This tastes pretty good. Yeah, I think this is really good. It's definitely a big beer. Like, you can taste the alcohol on it, but what they're shooting for, I think they nailed it with this beer. Again, I think it's too high with the alcohol, 17%. Why? And I think if you lowered the alcohol, amped up the sweetness, it would give it more body with less bite from the alcohol. But overall, it's pretty good. So far, this is the best of the bunch next to the chocolate salty balls. This is pretty good. So this is a 2018 edition. If you have a bottle, open it now. It's not going to get any better. It'll probably get way worse. So this is pretty good though. Again, it's 17%. I'm feeling these beers already, and I'm drinking maybe 3 or 4 ounces of these beers as I'm sampling them. And yeah, this is insane. So good beer. Moving on to the next. All right, so last but not least is a beer that, this is probably the one I was looking forward to the most, and I love this label. This is white chocolate with cherries. This is 13.6% alcohol by volume, which that's way better than 19.2 or 19.4. It's an ale aged in bourbon barrels with cacao nibs, vanilla, and tart cherries. And this is made with a wheat, so it's a wheat wine style ale. And the nibs are from Cho. So yeah, this sounds fantastic. This is a 2018 edition. Again, that label, I want to eat the label. That's how cool the label looks. Like, I love this label so much. That white with the red, it looks so clean. So props to the person who designed this label. Like, this looks dope. So let's open this up and check it out. All right, this beer looks fantastic. Look at that beer. That is crystal clear. It's got a perfect, like, thick 1-inch tall head on it that's not going anywhere. That looks fantastic. Wow. I don't know if you can see the color. Like, you can see through this beer. It looks so nice. Yeah, this looks nice. This is what I want to see. And I think the level of alcohol, for it being so low in brewery standards, that's what's helping keeping this head around. Like, it's not going away because it's not being burned away by the alcohol. So that's just a theory. I could be completely wrong about that, but it just seems like all of their higher, 20% range beers tend to have heads that just go away, and you're left with this flat looking mess. I don't know, but this looks very nice. So let's see what it smells like. That smells great. Okay, I was expecting cherry overload on this. It is not cherry overload. The cherries are a complement to the beer. This smells really good. yeah, you get that wheat wine characteristic, which is kind of like a sweet, boozy thing happening. Malty, sweet, boozy. And then the cherries are just kind of there on the edges, you know, saying, hey, we're here, kind of rounding everything out, giving you that perceived tart aroma. Smells really, really good. Yeah, this smells great. Oh, I'm so happy I saved this beer for last because I didn't want to end on a bad note. So let's see what this tastes like. That's pretty much what I expected. Again, being 13% compared to 20% or 19% makes a big difference. Like, I'm not getting nearly as much booze. Maybe if I drank this first without drinking all these other boozy beers first, I would like pick it up more. But this tastes really good. It's nice and tongue coating. Got a great mouthfeel. Cherries come through perfectly. It's not like a cherry bomb kind of beer. The way the cherries and vanilla are interacting with the wheat wine characteristics in this beer is fantastic. Like, this is phenomenal. This is really good. It says specifically on the label they used tart cherries, and you do kind of get that. It's not like a sour tartness or an acidic tartness that you would get from like a sour beer or a wild ale. But you can definitely feel it like in the middle of your tongue kind of thing, and it works well with the other additions in this beer to kind of cut through all of that. So you taste the vanilla, you taste the big body of that wheat wine, but that tartness kind of, I don't know, it's like it cuts everything out and gives it a nice dry and complete finish. So there's nothing overwhelming about this beer as far as the additional ingredients go, and that's awesome. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to just taste cherries with beer. So very well done, 2018 edition. If you have this, open it now. It's not going to get any better. Going back to doing the brewery beers as a series, I think that's something I'm going to do. I'm going to kick it off with this video because I'm not going to call it a quickie, because obviously this is not a quickie. This is going to be more than 10 minutes long. So if this is something you want to see, let me know, because I do have a lot of brewery beer, and I mean, it's a crapshoot whether or not it's good or bad at this point. And I don't want to just throw it away. I want to actually do something with it, which I guess putting videos on YouTube is something to do with the beer. So thank you for watching. This was fun. I loved barreling through these beers, no pun intended, and just opening them up. I'm going to dump what's left. There's no way I'm drinking all of this. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.